to introduce Dr. Roderick Nunn. He's our Executive Vice President and Head of Education and Employment here at Concordance, and he's been with our team since the beginning. He's an accomplished workforce development leader, having directed workforce development for 3 governors in Missouri and Illinois. And prior to joining our team, he was an executive at St. Louis Community College, where he served as the campus president of Forest Park Campus and vice chancellor of Economic Development and Workforce Solutions. Under Rod's leadership, the college won several national, state, and local awards for excellence and innovation in workforce development. And in his role at Concordance, Rod oversees a team that provides education, job readiness, and employment programming. And I think I speak for the whole team when I say that we are blessed to have him be a part of it. So Rod, I will let you take it from here.
Thank you so much, Jill. And thank you for all of you who are tuning in this morning. It's so great to see so many friends of Concordance. And Jill, I am blessed to be here. This is everything I've been doing over my life has prepared me for this moment in time to work here at Concordance. Thank you, TJ, for really providing what is the business case for what I like to call our healing first approach. Over the years in workforce development, I've read all of this literature of this high correlation between incarceration history and high unemployment, incarceration history and low educational attainment levels. And I think I used to believe that you can actually educate, train, and employ your way to low recidivism rates. That is a failed proposition. And that is why we do things the way we do at Concordance. What I've learned is that it really doesn't matter how good your curriculum is initially, you know, how good your instructors are. That's important, but initially that really doesn't matter. You need employment partners, but initially that really doesn't matter. You have to get individuals stabilized and on their healing journey for all the reasons that TJ just covered. My definition of workforce development after 20 years in the profession is that it's about providing the right people with the right skills at the right time, or for the right jobs at the right time. And timing is everything about this population. But let me show you how I've interrelated that with our work here. Next slide, Jill. So in terms of the right skills, I mean, obviously, we want to make sure our participants are able to navigate and use a computer effectively in the home, in the workplace, and in the community, and to use it ethically. We want to make sure our participants have the correct requisite of literacy and numeracy skills, and we present that in an applied way in terms of how it shows up in the workplace. In terms of soft skills, I think everybody on this call knows that those are very important in the workplace, but the ability for our population to conform to social norms that have been deeply disrupted by the things that Danny mentioned, you know, generations of poverty and inequity and all the co-occurring conditions that come with the trauma that TJ covered. Soft skills are very difficult, even more difficult to train and develop with this population. And then technical skills, very important. We start our guys, you know, in entry-level jobs, but they all have a life plan and treatment plans that speak to the future and provide a career blueprint for where they can go. So those are the right skills. In terms of the right jobs, next slide. In terms of the right jobs, you know, we are working with some of the best corporate citizens in St. Louis, companies that are felon friendly, that pay a living wage, that have a consistent demand for labor, but within the career pathways, the guided pathways that we take our participants on, those initial jobs have limited training requirements so that we can train those individuals as they're in our care. And that has led us to some very good relationships in food service, retail, and the light industrial sectors. And Tom and Danielle will talk a little bit more about what that looks like in practice. And then the right time, the right skills for the right jobs at the right time. And of course, as you all have heard, the right time is after they begin to heal. That is just so really important. So let's look a little bit deeper here. Let's look at some of the norms that we often take for granted in the world of work. So individuals who have been socialized for years, if you go to the next slide, Jill, individuals who have been socialized for years in environments that are characterized by multiple traumatic events over a lifetime. And TJ just told you that the average number of traumatic events for our participants is 5. They're not going to be able to identify with many of the norms and values that are emphasized in the world of work. And so let's talk about those for just a second. Unless you are in your healing journey, this idea of an American dream, that proclaims that all men are created equal with the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, in the way that presents itself in work. Opportunities abound. If you work hard, good things will happen. Gives you a sense of hope, right? For normal people, our folks have a hard time with that. That is not something that is present with them. Uh, Unless you're in your healing journey, the seemingly basic idea that in an organization where you work, somebody's in charge, they have a division of labor, they are there to give you instruction and to hold you accountable for specific outputs that benefit the bottom line of the company and sometimes society. That is a hard concept to cognitively process unless you're in your healing journey. This idea that collectively we can all achieve more on teams is something that I think some folks kind of understand from other realities that they've experienced, maybe with the culture that they were raised in. But to be able to establish trust in others and to be open and honest, with your colleagues at work and that kind of thing is something that's going to be difficult for our population. This idea that the systems of rules and policies that we need to organize our work, in the workplace, very, very important. But for our population, their cognitive processes suggest that these same rules and standards have led to inequity and oppression, and the things that they've seen through their socialization processes. This idea that work is hard, things happen at work, you miss a deadline, projects come in over budget, the production line stops, co-workers have a bad day, stress is inherent. And most normal people have a stress tolerance zone that allows them to get through it. Our folks have a difficult time coping and regulating their emotions. So that, the notion that, there are these norms and values in the world of work are important, obviously important, but this is why we address the program the way we address the program. And so we have this integrated, holistic, and evidence-informed reentry model with 12 services under one roof. And it helps that in our program, there are over 500 hours of programming. We're talking therapeutic interventions, skill development interventions, substance use interventions, everything the research says that this population needs to heal and continue to heal over time. We are addressing it in our program in a very evidence-informed way. And the sequencing of these programs, and I'm not going to go through every single intervention with you. Most of you on this call have seen this slide, but we have the grouping with behavioral health and wellness, education, employment, and community and life skills. All of them are important, but how they're sequenced are very important. If you can just show the timeline, Jill. So those are the phases of our program. We begin at interview, and there's a recruitment phase. There's a phase where we do work with them in prison. And then there's a post-release program. So this is an 18-month program accounting for, again, all of the requisite programs and services that participants need to be successful. And so what's important to note here there's a lot of stuff here, and we're not going to go through every single point. But what I want to point out too, as I introduce Tom, is that when participants are released and they come into the academy at phase 3, our behavioral health, the intensive outpatient portion of our program, is very intense. And so as participants are moving through their healing journey, and they're beginning to learn coping strategies and positive strategies to better, deal with some of the cognitive distortions that we've talked about, As that is kind of, moving down, the employment model is intensifying. So there's an inverse relationship there. As the healing journey continues, the employment services are more progressive. And that is very important. We've learned from our experiences that you can't put people right into full-time jobs directly after they release from prison, particularly if you are serving a representative sample that includes some of the hardest to serve individuals who've experienced, the types of trauma and the co-occurring conditions that come with that. So with that, I want to hand it off to Tom Grant. Tom Grant is a senior vice president here at the Academy. He's been here 3 years, and in fact, today is his third year anniversary with the Academy. Tom came to us as the market leader for People Ready, one of the larger staffing firms in our region, with decades of experience in working in the light industrial industry, in transportation and logistics. Tom oversees our employment partners and our relationships and the things we do with employment. So Tom's going to talk a little bit more about how this works in practice with respect to our relationships with business and industry. Tom?
Thank you very much, Rod, and good morning, everyone. I'm glad to be here and to talk an exciting part, which is the employment piece for our participants. And Jill, if you could put that slide back up. I'll just go over this real briefly. So if you could just, trigger in on phase 3, which shows post-release in 2 weeks. I'm going to begin by talking about workplace simulation. But what I think was important when we talk about the healing journey, what's also important to know is that before participants come to us in the EDR team, that this is not a rubber stamp. Like, you just can't stay in the 6-week intensive period and just and show up and then expect that you're going to be moving into the workplace simulation. We expect our participants to remain engaged. That they must remain in good standing. They have to complete their programming. They have to remain sober. We ask them to get a sponsor. We have a very robust, rigorous program during that 6 weeks. And so you have to know that when they're presented to the education and employment team to move into workplace simulation, they have received the approval of their case manager and their therapist that they're ready to move forward into the workplace simulation. And so when they come to us, they're going to go through a 2-week workplace simulation. It's 40 hours of training that we run from 9 to 1, Monday through Friday at the Academy. And it simulates the world of work. We're blessed to have 7 industry partners that we simulate their world of work. You're going to get to hear from Danielle from BJC in just a moment in terms of food service. But that simulation is intended to simulate the world of work. So in the case of BJC, we teach their eye care values. We talk about their mission and vision. We cook BJC recipes. Rod mentioned about some of the skill sets. We do a lot of soft skills. We talk about hard skills. We get involved with digital literacy. But at the same time, while they're going through simulation in the morning, in the afternoon, they're continuing with programming. And they do that for 2 weeks. And what's important to know is that even with the 2 weeks, again, this is not a rubber stamp. We have 4 measurements that we measure our participants on that we ask them to attain a 3 out of a 4 before they move into part-time employment with our industry partners. And those 4 attributes are attendance and punctuality, how they take instruction from a supervisor, teamwork, and the quality of their work. And we ask them to attain a 3 out of a 4 before they move into part-time employment. So if Jill, if you can move to the next slide. So I'll call your attention. This is a lot of information on the slide, so I'll kind of try to break it down for you. In phase 3, we just talked about the 2 weeks of simulation. Also during that simulation time, we ask that we can do a tour of the industry partner site. there's going to be a lot of trepidation from our participants if they haven't worked for a while. We want them to get comfortable with their environment. And so we go to the industry partner site during the simulation. We ask an industry partner to present what we call industry insights at the academy, where they talk about the role specifically and about their own career progression. During those 2 weeks, we also provide with our industry partner, we do supervisor training. If they're a new industry partner, it's a 2-hour comprehensive training on how to work with our population. And we celebrate. As a matter of fact, we're celebrating today. We have several participants that are completing simulation, and they're going to be moving into part-time employment starting next week. So if they've gone through those phases and they have attained a 3 out of a 4, they did move into phase 3C, which is a 10-week part-time employment phase of our model. And this is where the participant will work from 8:30 to 12:30, Monday through Friday, and then they come back to the afternoon for programming, and they do that for 10 weeks. And this is all part of supporting the healing journey that we have been speaking about. We know that in some cases, relapse is a form of treatment, and we want to stay tethered to the participants during their journey. And so they start into part-time employment. And I also, one of the things I forgot to mention to you is that, I lead the employment agency. Our participants become employees of the Concordance Employment Agency. They become tax-paying citizens. We are a fully functioning staffing firm. But it's important to know that we're just not your typical staffing firm. We are an alternative staffing organization. We focus on individuals that have barriers to employment. In our case, it's those that have a felony conviction. Our first focus is the individual, it's the participant. It's not on the billable revenue, and I'll explain that in just a moment. So they're going to be an employee of the agency. We are the employer of record, and this is really an important component. So for example, during those 10 weeks when they're going through part-time employment, let's say there's some challenges that are occurring in the workplace. Perhaps they've relapsed. What we ask to do is to pull them from employment, and we work on whatever issues they may have. We do some interventions. They may be gone from work for a day. It may be 3 days. It may be 5 days. But when they're back on track, we ask them to be able to return to that industry partner. And all of our industry partners have been very supportive of that effort. And it's really produced some great results. What's also important to know during those 10 weeks is that we're on site at the industry partner. The first week is very intensive. We're there every day. We have a career coach that goes out to the job site. They're talking with the supervisors. They're talking with the participants. They're making sure that everything is going as planned. And at the same time, when we're not there, as we gradually continue the healing journey and they're becoming stabilized, like Rod spoke about earlier, we start tapering back a little bit. So maybe we'll do partnered job site visits every 2 weeks, but then we ask the supervisors to fill out a supervisor rubric, which is really a short 4 questions survey to just keep us engaged to see what's going on with our participants. And this goes on for 10 weeks. And if our participants have continued to show up on time, are getting good reviews, they're coming back for afternoon programming, and they do that consistently for 10 weeks, because we want to gradually work them into the world of work, because that's what they need in order to get reassimilated back into the community. Then they move into phase 4, which is full-time employment. And that goes on for a total of 21 weeks. So they still they're still an employee of the agency. And generally they're an employee of the agency for upwards of 6 months before they're eligible to transition to full-time employment with that industry partner. And one of the things that I will mention too is that during that, when they transition from part-time to full-time, that industry partner can place the participant on any shift that they have a need for. So we know that there's a struggle on the 8:30 to 12:30 Monday through Friday part-time shift. but they understand what the big picture is. And once we have them stabilized, we know they're on a good track, then they move them to full-time into a shift where they know they have the greatest operational need. And so to get a little bit more specific in terms of how that works, I'm pleased to be able to introduce to you Danielle Landewe, who is the manager of contingent staffing for BJC. We have been connected with Danielle for approximately 1.5 years when she came to BJC, a strong supporter of Concordance. She has been kind of the logistics head within BJC, navigating all the different departments, making sure that everyone's needs are met. She's done a tremendous job. We certainly appreciate all that she's done. And so Danielle, I'm going to go ahead and hand it off to you so you can kind of talk a little bit about the experience you've had through our industry partnership.
Great. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to speak about the partnership between Concordance and BJC. So BJC is a hospital system with hospitals in St. Louis, suburban St. Louis, Parkland, Sullivan, Missouri, and we have 3 locations in Illinois. We are committed to providing affordable health care to patients in the areas that we serve, and it's really important to us to provide service and employment opportunities within the communities. We have several partnerships that encourage the local communities and a focus on improving health and career options for underserved populations. Those align with the values that BJC has, which our acronym for that is CREST. They stand for the compassion that we promise as employees of BJC to care about you. We will respect you with a promise to treat you with dignity, provide excellence in everything that we do, provide a safe working environment, both safety for our patients, our employees, and the people visiting our facilities, and to work within teamwork. So we promise to partner with you, and really Concordance fills a lot of those goals and commitments that we have to the community. Working with Concordance allows us to provide long-term career options for the Concordance participants, but it also provides us with a really steady pipeline of candidates for roles that can be difficult to fill and often have a lot of turnover. So we currently do utilize Concordance to assist in our food and nutrition program. We have several roles that they fill, and we partner with Concordance to plan those as they go through the simulations that Tom and Rod both talked about. Working with Concordance has made this a really easy process for us. We do treat them exactly as we treat our other contingent vendors, although I obviously really enjoy working with Tom and Rod, so it's a little closer of a partnership than maybe with some of my other vendors, but we do treat them as far as onboarding, background checks, drug screens, everything that we have to do for any of our other agency work we do with Concordance. Basically, working with Concordance is super easy. We partner with them to design simulations. We follow up with them on candidates, both going through simulations. Any delays or any issues like that, we're able to quickly resolve. And we also keep the communication lines open during the entire process to ensure that the candidates and our managers have the best possible process. Having a pipeline of candidates is obviously important. As anybody on this call knows, staffing right now is difficult. Finding quality talent, finding people who will stick in a role is becoming more of a challenge. And so the biggest win for us is really having this pipeline, but also having the opportunity to work with the Concordance workers. They work very hard, they're dedicated to their work, and all of the leaders that we've had with Concordance members have been impressed with their skills and with their dedication and with their ability to fit into the team. It's not to say that there's never issues, but they're resolved, and resolved because Tom and Rod have partnered with us to have open lines of communication and because we're dedicated to make it work. So we figure it out. It could be additional training. As Tom mentioned, it could be a pause in the program. So the worker might need a little time to get back on track, but whatever it is, we're going to take the time to make that effort because the goal is the same, to have stable long-term employment for the participants. So we work really hard to find those solutions. As a partner, BJC is looking to expand the use of Concordance, so we're currently talking to additional hospitals, and we're also looking at other roles where this might be a good fit. So we are looking at other places where there is potential for a new simulation to be developed, and talking with our leadership about what that could look like. It has been a huge pleasure. I came into BJC about 18 months ago and learned about the Concordance program pretty quickly. And it is an honor to work with these gentlemen and all of the people in the program. And we're just really grateful that we've had this opportunity and that we can continue to highlight the program. And any questions that anyone has about how we use them as a contingent labor vendor or any of the processes that we go through, I'm happy to answer either online or offline. I'm sure Tom or anyone on the team could give you my contact information.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Danielle.
Yep.
We really appreciate your partnership and you sharing that experience with our viewers today. So now I have the privilege of introducing one of our current participants, Elton. Elton started programming with Concordance right after he was released in September of 2020, and he's attended programming daily with us since then. And while Elton had a setback with his sobriety, he has since a sponsor and is working on maintaining it. And Elton actually recently started part-time employment with BJC back in March. So I guess just a month ago now, it's still technically April. And he's expected to move into full-time employment there in a few weeks. So Elton, thank you so much for agreeing to share your story and a little bit about your experience at Concordance and the impact that it's had on you. So I will let you take it away.
First of all, good morning to everyone. And before going any further, I want to give a thanks to Nicole, Kevin, Tom for allowing me to have this experience and to move forward with my life, to even get a job at BJC. And first and foremost, it's steps, like Tom was saying, that you have to go through as far as learning certain dishes and meals you have to make at BJC. And since I've been there, I started off in the dish room, but they allow me from time to time when it's downtime to help prep with the cooks and learn how to cook and things like that, and to also explore into different other positions in case I get a chance to move up. I will be familiar with certain things, but I'm grateful for the opportunity because coming out of prison to get a job at BJC is fantastic, because I probably wouldn't even try to get no employment at BJC, because when you think of BJC, you think of hospital, doctors, and things like that. You really don't think of the other things that come with BJC to make everything roll and come together. But just the training that they give us, the opportunities they give us, because I was at another job, a factory job before BJC, and I just didn't see a future there. So they allowed me to come back to simulation, go through the steps again in order to get to BJC, where I can see a bigger future, where I'll be able to take care of my kids, myself on a better level. And the people at BJC, they're helpful, friendly, and I haven't ran into no problems. I'm just grateful for the whole opportunity. And with being in Concordance, the way they accepted me and accept the other participants, and the thing that they take you through as far as just having a case manager, a therapist, people on hand to talk to, it's mind blowing. This program is not, I say, jail or DOC mandated. So doing this is on your own, but you have to be able to be ready mentally to go through the program. As far as keeping your sobriety, making it on time, and being ready for the certain challenges that comes with, I guess, reinventing yourself back into society. And with that being said, and I'm grateful that I'm finna move to full time, and I'll be able to get more money.
I love that honesty, Elton. Thank you so much for sharing your experience, for all of the work that done to get to where you are. And thank you for letting us partner with you on that journey. It's incredible. And we wish you all the best and look forward to celebrating you when you move into full-time employment. Yeah. So with
I'm gonna get back to work right now.
Yes.
Get
Please
these extra hours. You know, it's rent time. I got to pay rent next week, so I need to go get these a couple extra hours.
I love it. I love it. Yes, please do.
Right now.
Um,
So thanks to Nicole and Tom for calling down there and allowing me to get to work so I can, you know, make this happen.
Yes, we're glad the logistics worked out so that you could share your story. Thank you, Elton.
Yes, thank you.
And with that, I want to thank everybody. I know we are 1 minute over time, but we came very, very close to that 1 hour promise. Thank you all so much for being a part of this. This is something that we hope to continue throughout the year, doing a couple times just to bring our community together to talk about ending the cycle of reincarceration, helping work towards racial equity, and the work that we can do as a community and as an organization to move our country forward in those areas. So I encourage you to stay in touch with us. We will send a follow-up email. This is being recorded, so we will post it on our YouTube page as well. But please stay in touch with us at concordanceacademy.org. Follow us on social media. And we hope that this is just the beginning of conversations with all of you. So thank you so much and have a great rest of your day. Goodbye.